The Joe Rogan Experience.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the show. Today I'm joined by Michael Stevens, better known as Vsauce.
Hey, Joe, and hey, Vsauce. Michael here.
So let's get straight into it. You wanted to tell me about this paradox you found out about the other day?
That's right, Joe. It's called the John Carr paradox.
Jamie, turn that music off. I told you to not play that. We will get a copyright strike.
Don't worry, Joe. It's actually a royalty-free instrumental.
Oh, okay, cool. But Jamie, don't do anything again unless I tell you to. Okay, continue, Michael.
So the John Carr paradox, this guy Alex told me about it, and it's really fascinating.
Well, go on. Let's get into it.
So let me give you some background and some context. These guys, Alex, John, Bowen, Nick, and so on, go to this place called Varsity for dinner every Monday night, but John doesn't have a license, so he needs a lift from one of the other guys.
I see. So how old is this guy?
He's old, Joe. He turned 28 on Thursday.
Wow, so why doesn't he have a license at that age?
Who knows? The specifics to why John doesn't have a license doesn't factor into the paradox. Simply note that John does not have one.
But he's 28. Surely he can just get a license really easily.
Joe, please let me continue.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So one Monday night, the guys are at Varsity and no one gave John a lift, but then he rocks up at Varsity Morley and they're all confused as to how he got there. So John claims to have driven there, and he owns a car, so that detail checks out. But he doesn't have a license, so the other guys are really confused.
Wait, so he owns a car? What sort of person owns a car but doesn't have a license? That's just bizarre.
Joe, I don't know, but again, it's besides the point. The why is not relevant, it's just the what.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. So then the night goes on, they have dinner and play a quiz. They don't win, obviously.
What sort of quiz? General knowledge? Random trivia?
Joe, come on, man. I'm trying to explain, and you keep interrupting me with these silly questions that are unrelated to the story and concept. Would you let me finish?
Well, why include that they played in a quiz if it's not important?
Are you kidding?
I feel like you're over-explaining to a degree.
Okay, fine. I'll stick only to the crucial details, but stop interrupting me, okay?
Sorry. I'm high as fuck right now, by the way.
Oh, dude, why didn't you say so? Can I have some?
Yeah, sure, dog.
So, the night is over, and the guys go to John and ask how he's getting home. John acts all smug, and then gets a lift home with Nick, and Nick drops him back at John's house. So now here's where the paradox comes in.
Oh shit, here we go.
So there are two locations, John's house and Varsity Morley. John, who doesn't have a license but does have a car, drives from John's house to Varsity Morley. So now John and his car are at Varsity.
Got it.
Next, John gets a lift home with Nick in Nick's car, pretending he didn't drive. This leaves John's car at Varsity. John returns to John's house. Then John needs to get his car from Varsity, so he drives in a new car back to Varsity Morley. John arrives back at Varsity and realizes there are now two cars there, and he can only drive one car back to his house.
I think I can see where this is going.
In a panic, John gets Nick to pick him back up yet again and drive him back to his house. Once home, he realizes he still needs to get his car from Varsity. He takes a third car and drives it there. He arrives yet again. There are now three cars at Varsity with only one person, John, to drive them all back.
So he's left an extra car there again.
Exactly, and the cycle continues. Infinite cars taking infinite trips to Varsity and back home over and over again. John gets stuck in a loop creating infinite cars and therefore infinite matter.
Holy shit, that's a crazy thought experiment.
It is. And while it may seem impossible for an infinite number of cars to be left at Varsity, the paradox highlights the limitations of our knowledge and understanding. It's a reminder to consider the logical consequences of our actions and to approach problems with an open mind and a willingness to consider all possible outcomes, even those that seem illogical or paradoxical.
And that you should just get your license when you turn 16.
That too?
It's crazy to think that John's actions lead to an infinite loop of cars being left at Varsity Morley. What do you make of it if that really happened?
Well, as I said, it highlights the importance of considering the logical consequences of our actions. John's actions may seem reasonable at first, but they lead to a self-contradictory and irrational result.
That's true. But do you think the paradox has any real-world implications?
Not really. If you ask me, I think Nick, one of the guys in the story, was just gaslighting the whole time. Or maybe this all really did happen and this restaurant has infinite cars outside its premises. But we shouldn't let hypothetical scenarios like this distract us from real-world issues.
Yeah, so what would you order from this Varsity? I heard they have great burgers.
I'm not really a burger guy, Joe.
Oh.